Welcome to our Lunar New Year service. I'm Allison Kendall, your worship associate for today. The Lunar New Year is a time of new beginnings. Traditionally, a time of family gatherings, a time for exchanging gifts and wishes for a healthy, prosperous, and happy new year. This year's celebrations will no doubt be muted by precautions against the coronavirus pandemic and its alarming new variants, even as effective vaccines slowly become available. Sadly, we've learned to fear even family gatherings with our elders and grandchildren, as a holiday meal together can lead to people falling ill just weeks later. This has been a trying year. This pandemic has upended our lives and the lives of almost everyone on Earth. We've learned just how interconnected our well-being is to the health of people far away. Even my relatives in isolated Western Australia just went into a second lockdown and had to scramble to fabricate masks and stock up on food and that apparent necessity, toilet paper. As we explore and celebrate our church community and look ahead to our plans for the coming year, it's important to realize the aspects of community that have altered profoundly over the past year. We no longer see our older members catching up over coffee in the courtyard and young children listening to the story and playing in the play yard. Those who can tune into our worship services online and hear inspiring words and lovely music during the service. But many older members lack the equipment and the tech savvy to do so, and they rely on printed sermons and phone calls instead. We've lost the joy of celebrating marriages and births together in person, and the comfort of gathering and embracing at memorial services. We've survived a difficult year, full of disease, dissent, and death. And we hope that in this new year we can rediscover some of the pleasures of living and meeting in community. Let's be sure to savor them and to recognize how very precious and meaningful they are as we continue to tend and expand our beloved community, and to continue that spirit of community in our work and service, to bridge our differences as a nation and in all communities, and to help heal this suffering world.
Good morning. I am delighted to be with all of you this morning. If you have a chalice at home, you're invited to light it at this time. With the kindling of our flame, we welcome the arrival of Black History Month and the Lunar New Year. May we continue to move through our lives advocating for racial justice and demanding an end to all oppressions of the human spirit. May we invite the new year to bring us its blessings, like blossoms caught in the wind. May our spirits continue to dance and burn bright, like this chalice flame of truth, of love, and of light.
God's great mercies flow as the spinning globe rolls away the night. Nature wears a robe spun of morning light. Dawn break in me true, as in skies above. Teach me to be true, fill my heart with love, fill my heart with love, fill my heart with love.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Community Church of Santa Monica. I'm Allison Kendall, your worship associate for today. The Reverend Jeremiah Kalendae, who serves this congregation as our developmental minister, will be preaching. Our worship team is delighted to be able to join you today in our online sanctuary this morning. If you're new to our community, please know that while our building is closed, we are still here, and there are many ways to learn about us and to discover our many programs. We offer a multitude of programs to serve the needs of our congregation and to be of service to the wider world, offering broad religious and personal development and education for youth as well as for older people and people of all ages. In addition to serving as a pillar of community activism in our Santa Monica and West LA community. If you're interested in learning more, please join us after the service for our virtual visitor meetup on Zoom. Unitarian Universalism is not defined by creed or dogma, but is guided by principles that affirm the worth and dignity of every person and encourage an individual search for truth and meaning. We honor the wonder of existence, and we believe that we are all connected to each other and to the interdependent web of life. Our beliefs are drawn from many sources, from scripture and science, nature and philosophy, personal experience, and ancient traditions. We are an open, affirming, and welcoming congregation. We are diverse in backgrounds, social locations, gender, identities, ethnicities, sexual orientations, spiritualities, and philosophies of life. We are united in our desire to create a diverse, beloved community, to live the principles of our faith, and to serve the wider world. As we begin this morning's service, we want to acknowledge that our church building and the homes of many of our members are located on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded land of the Tongva people, who lived here and cared for this land for thousands of years. This land was stolen from the Tongva by colonial settlers. We recognize and mourn the often deadly harm inflicted on the indigenous peoples of this land. We lift up their grace, resilience, and their relationship with these sacred lands. Here are a few announcements from our congregation. Please join us after the service for our virtual coffee hour on Zoom with a number of breakout room options and different discussion topics, conversations, and opportunities to get to know one another more deeply. Links will be posted below, as well as in our UUSM Facebook group. One of our most vital groups during this past year has been the Care Ring, led by Linda Van Lichten, which meets once a month on Wednesdays and works throughout the month to assure that care and emotional support is extended to all of our church members. Those who live alone, are elderly, disabled, or have suffered recent illness or loss. Please consider joining this group in order to support this really important community building work. It will help you become closer and more compassionate with other church members. Please contact Linda or the church office or email pastoralcare@uusm.org for more information. For more information on our activities and ways to get involved, please visit our website at uusm.org or our online newsletter at news.uusm.org. You may also want to sign up for our weekly e-newsletter on our website.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
El amor es la enseñanza de esta iglesia.
Love is the doctrine of this church.
Buscar la verdad es su sacramento y el servicio es la oración.
The quest for truth is its sacrament and service is its prayer.
Vivir juntos en paz.
To dwell together in peace.
Buscar el conocimiento en la libertad.
To seek knowledge in freedom.
Servir a la humanidad en comunión.
To serve humankind in fellowship.
Así es como convenimos unos a otros.
Thus do we covenant with each other.
From all that peace, goodwill on earth be sung through every land by every tongue.
Good morning. This morning we are going to talk about the zodiac. Now, the zodiac that we're most often going to see is the one that's based on the stars in the sky. But there's a different zodiac, the Chinese zodiac. And instead of your sign being determined by what month you're born in and what month correlates with that set of stars in the sky, the Chinese zodiac is based on different animals, and it's based on a different year. So many people were born in the year of the snake. So every time the year of the snake rolls around in cycles of 12, then you'll have people born in the year of the snake, and that will be their Chinese zodiac. I was born in the year of the snake. I'm a bit partial to that sign. But do you know how those signs came to be? Well, I'll tell you. Now, a very long time ago, there wasn't a zodiac. But the Dragon Emperor decided that he wanted to pick 12 animals to be his guard. And he sent a supernatural being down to let everyone know there would be a great race to the heavenly gates. And the first 12 animals to arrive would be his guard. Now, very early on, the morning of the race, the ox, nice and diligent, was up and ready to go, as was the rat, but eventually they came to a river. They looked at each other, they looked at the rushing river, they looked at each other, back to the rushing river, and the ox took a step into the water, and the rat, being very smart, hopped up onto the ox's shoulders. And well, the ox kind of Kanye shrugged about it and kept on trudging. And so, the first two animals to arrive to the heavenly gates was the diligent ox and the crafty rat. Now, the next two are a bit competitive. The tiger and the rabbit. Now, you see, they're both quick animals, and so they were racing, and they too came to the rushing river. And they looked at each other, and at the river, and at each other, and then the river, and the tiger jumps in and starts swimming, like all those super strong muscles pulling them through the water, but all of that fur is weighing them down. The rabbit sees the tiger getting away and is like, what do I do? So they jump from stone to stone, and the tiger swims and swims, and the tiger just beats our friend, the rabbit, to the heavenly gates. And so the emperor goes, well, you are animals 3 and 4, and you shall be part of my guard. Well, then there came the dragon. Now, the emperor was a little surprised by the dragon being so late in the game, and the dragon said, well, on my way here, there was a village, there was fire, I couldn't just let them all perish in the flames, and so I used my great big breath and blew all the fire out, but I had to be really gentle so I didn't blow any buildings down, and it took some time, but I'm here. Well, the Jade Emperor was so impressed by this, he said, well, you know what, your son can be the 6th animal, but the dragon hadn't brought his son, but out slithered the snake and said, well, the dragon's my adoptive father. Now, the Jade Emperor knew that this was factually inaccurate, but honestly thought it was a pretty clever idea to come up with so quickly. And so the dragon and the snake became the 5th and 6th animals of the zodiac. And then came the horse and the goat, who had woken up relatively on time and had walked on along, chatting the whole time. And when it came to the heavenly gates, the goat said, well, after you. And the horse said, no, after you. No, after you. No, after you. And the emperor, seeing how kind and gracious they were, simply chuckled and said, "You're animals 7 and 8. It's all good." Well, now the jumping monkey, yeah, he had gotten a late start. He'd had a bit of a lion, if you will. And so he was running and he was sweating and he was like, "This is not gonna work for me." And so he took to the treetops, swinging from tree to tree to tree to tree, and in fact is the only one who didn't have to get in the river because he swung right across it. It was glorious. So he then took up the 9th spot. And then the rooster and the dog, who had also kind of just strolled and chilled and paddled their way across the river, strode in the numbers 10 and 11, but then they waited and waited. And there was still one more spot left in the zodiac, but there didn't seem to be anybody coming. Well, and then they saw the pig, wet, with a muddy nose, just sort of ambling along, and the emperor asked, "What happened to you?" And the pig said, "Well, I was on my way here, but then I got really hungry, so I stopped for a snack. But then I was really thirsty, so I just stopped for water. And then I was really tired, so I took a nap, but I'm here now." And so the pig became the 12th sign of the zodiac. And the Jade Emperor looked around at all these different animals who'd gotten here all sorts of ways, working together, by themselves, being clever, being simply who they are, and decided that this is a pretty good guard to have. And that is how the Chinese zodiac came to be. I'll see you next week.
Be ours a religion which, like sunshine, goes everywhere. Its temple of space, its shrine, the good heart, its creed, all truth, its ritual works of love. Be ours a religion which, like sunshine, goes everywhere. Its temple of space, its shrine, the good heart, its creed, all truth, its ritual works of love.
We enter into our time for mindfulness, prayer, and silent meditation. This is a time we make in each service for spiritual deepening, contemplation, and practicing spiritual disciplines together as a liberal religious community. You're invited during this time of the service to sit quietly and comfortably, perhaps light a candle if you have not already, and connect with that stillness and serenity within through an awareness of the movement of your breathing and the beating of your heart. It's a time to be present to yourself, to encounter the depths within, as you also expand your mindfulness and the circle of compassion to embrace community and our larger world. I have a few pastoral announcements this morning. Now, please remember that if you have a joy or a sorrow or a milestone that you'd like to share with community during this time, you can email us at pastoralcare@uusm.org and request its inclusion. So we mourn the passing of long-time church member Christine Haskell on January 30th, who died in her sleep after a long illness. Christine's beloved husband of 61 years, Charles Haskell, is one of our worship associates, a past church president, and was close by, as were 4 generations of her family. We extend our deepest condolences to the Haskell family and hold them in the light of beloved community in this time of loss. We also mourn the passing of longtime church member Anne McQueen, who died on January 30th. She spent her final days surrounded by family and the love of this community. We extend our deepest condolences to the McQueen family and hold them in the light of beloved community in this time of loss. Allison Kendall gratefully reports that her mother, Robin, recovered from COVID-19 in time to participate in an 85th birthday Zoom party with 3 generations of family members. She listened attentively as her grandchildren recounted their latest activities and plans. Allison, we join you in celebrating this healing and this birthday. And let us enter further into our time for prayer, mindfulness, and meditation. The words of our meditation this morning are from "For Nothing is Fixed" by James Baldwin. For nothing is fixed. Forever, 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 nothing is fixed. The earth is always shifting. The light is always changing. The sea does not cease to grind down rock. Generations do not cease to be born. We are responsible to them because we are the only witnesses they have. The sea rises, the light fails, lovers cling to each other, and children cling to us. The moment we cease to hold each other, the moment we break faith with one another, the sea engulfs us and the light goes out. May we hold each other tenderly, do our best not to break our faith with one another, and keep our light burning bright. Let us meditate together for a few brief minutes of silence and inward illumination. I will ring our singing bowl once to begin and then again to end our time for silent meditation. Enter, rejoice, and come in. It is such a blessing to be able to gather together every week in our online sanctuary. The pandemic interrupted all of our lives in profound and sometimes tragic ways, but we've continued to create beloved community and uplift what is of value to us without interruption for the past 11 months. This is a truly extraordinary feat, and I want to celebrate that this morning. Members of our congregation have shared how much they've appreciated having a place to gather, to process the events of the world, to find comfort and elation in our extraordinary music, to reflect upon words of liberal religious wisdom, to offer an educational ministry for all ages, and to practice spiritual disciplines together to center ourselves and explore new and ancient ways of practicing the religious life. Now, I am especially grateful to our many worship associates, our directors of music and religious education, Sonder Choi and Cleo Anderson, our church pianist, Ryan Humphrey, our choral section leaders, Chloe Vaught, Javon Haskin, and Michael Miersma, our church choir and musicians, Pam Teplitz and Liz Fuller for their work behind the scenes, and the powerful ministry of worship that the Reverend Dr. Kakanza Nuri Robbins has offered to our community. I also want to thank the Reverend Judith Myers, our Minister Emerita, for her ongoing ministry with us in retirement, and the many guest worship leaders who've graced our morning services with their presences. This month, we will also have a special honored guest worship leader as we are visited by Mushim Ikeda from the East Bay Meditation Center all the way in Oakland. I just want to take a moment to thank all of you and anyone I may have forgotten on behalf of this congregation for the dedication, the leadership, creativity, and love you've brought to this beloved community and the liberal religious tradition we cherish. Know that our lives have been enhanced as you've joined in ministering to our sometimes weary spirits in these difficult months. You've truly blessed us. For that, we are grateful. Now, at the beginning of the new year, I had planned to preach about our many new initiatives and ministries of the church and our progress on some of our developmental priorities. But alas, my plans were interrupted by the seizure of the U.S. Capitol by far-right insurrectionists. I think one of the many things we've learned from this difficult period in our history is that we have to be flexible and open to change to successfully navigate life in unstable and volatile times such as these. Now, many of us thought that perhaps the arrival of 2021 would turn the page on this prolonged period of massive disinformation, treachery, disease, polarization, and a newly emboldened racism. Now, I'm optimistic that maybe we've now reached the bottom of the pit and we're slowly kind of climbing our way out with new leadership, vaccines being distributed, and promises of bridges being built rather than walls. I'm reminded and humbled by the Jewish wisdom that there's always more good in the world than evil, but not by much. My hope is that with the arrival of the Lunar New Year this Friday, our global society will continue to sweep away the negativities that have accumulated over the past year and make space for a more hopeful and auspicious new year. I'd like to wish a happy and lucky Lunar New Year to all those who celebrate and reflect a bit more on this major global festival. Now, an work in creating an inclusive and flourishing beloved community is cultivating a congregation that is not only anti-racist and challenging oppressions of all kinds, but that is also cultivating a world that celebrates its diversity and a congregational home that is multiracial, multi-religious, and multicultural. In our congregational home, our worship includes acknowledging holidays from the world's many various religious and cultural traditions, and committing ourselves to learning more about traditions and practices that may be different from the dominant culture. Now, whereas the right-wing religious ideologies often espouse religious, cultural, and national supremacies, our liberal religious tradition has aspired to welcome difference and to learn from the mosaic of the world's cultures. We're not threatened by this diversity, but we promote it as a strength and a source of great wisdom. We don't believe any one culture or religion or tradition has an exclusive hold on the truth or is more pure or right than any other. We approach our beautiful world with open minds and open hearts. The Lunar New Year is an ancient festival that celebrates the early arrival of spring and the beginning of the annual cycle of lunar months. Lunar months begin with the new moon, as this is the point in the lunar cycle when all is dark, and then the first sliver of crescent light appears and begins to wax towards the full moon. It's often called the Chinese New Year or the Spring Festival, but it's celebrated throughout Asia, including in Singapore and South Korea, Taiwan, Vietnam, and by diaspora communities all over the world. Now, each year corresponds to a specific animal on the Chinese zodiac, and this year we are transitioning from the year of the rat to the year of the ox. Now, I think we've probably all had enough of the year of the rat. The ox is said to symbolize hard work, intelligence, stability, abundance, and humility. Now, those all sound great to me. Beyond the role of the Chinese zodiac in shaping the expectations for the new year, many other customs exist to cultivate an auspicious future. To prepare for the festival, homes are traditionally cleaned to sweep out the old and welcome the new. Special foods and sweets are prepared for the holiday, gifts are exchanged, and it's customary for young people to be given red envelopes filled with cash. It's considered very auspicious to wear the color red. Certain foods are more lucky than others and are believed to be imbued with fortunate qualities. Spring rolls are eaten for wealth, rice cakes for promotions, and especially long noodles are eaten to promote long life. Offerings are made to the ancestors, and the festival usually culminates with parties in the streets, parades, fireworks, and the release of lanterns into the night sky. Of course, the celebrations will be quite different this year, but releasing the old and filling this transitional period with things that represent good fortune, health, and longevity are believed to be the best ways to welcome the new year. So let us wish our friends who celebrate an auspicious new year, and let us deepen our own appreciation for these rich and varied cultural traditions. Now, our church home is active with the energies of the new year, and our continuing efforts to fulfill our mission and make progress on our developmental priorities, even as we weather the pandemic. We are busy preparing for our annual stewardship campaign, exploring using social media to market our community and build our membership, ministering to each other in our many small group ministry chalice circles, forecasting our budget in these uncertain times, meeting in our many affinity groups, engaging in a reflective evaluatory process with our staff leaders, reaching out to members through our growing pastoral care networks, and planning memorials and mourning the loss of so many of our dearly beloveds in recent weeks. And we have to be careful as we go about the work of the church to cultivate spaciousness and graciousness, recognizing how worn down we are and emotionally raw many of us may be feeling without our normal routines, activities, freedoms, and outlets. We should be mindful of not taking on too much as a community, of pacing ourselves and of removing pressures and stresses from our church as much as we are able. We are in the final stretch of the pandemic, and we need to be realistic about how to accomplish without burning people out or making the work of the church less enjoyable than it should be. One exciting new developmental initiative that the community has taken on is a bylaws refresh task force with the leadership of our former congregational president, Patricia Wright. This task force is working to study bylaw recommendations from the UUA and is exploring bylaws of other leading UU congregations. And they will offer recommendations for updating our bylaws, which is something that needs to be done on a regular basis, just to keep pace with changes in society. So they'll be making recommendations to our board and our congregation. Now, the task force is just getting off the ground, but it aspires to have a collaborative and transparent process as they discern some ways we might bring our bylaws and institutional practices up to date with current recommendations and the best practices in liberal religious congregations. It's expected that they will work through this year and then make recommendations that will be brought for a vote by the congregation. I want to thank those who have stepped up to lead our congregation in this way and who've taken on this task in these particularly trying times. We are truly grateful. Now, we've also spent the last few months laying the groundwork for our intersectional anti-racism and anti-oppression commission. Now, I'm grateful for the leadership of many members of our community who have stepped forward to lead these efforts. Susan Hendricks Richmond, Edna Bonicic, Mike Monty, Cleo Anderson, Neilani Santiago, James Whitker, and Linda Van Lichten. Now, one of our first offerings to begin to deepen our awareness around anti-racism and anti-oppression is to offer the famed Beloved Conversations program from the FOS Collaborative at our UU Seminary in Chicago, Meadville Lombard Theological School. Beloved Congregations is a facilitated of learning in groups or pods of white members and Black, Indigenous, and people of color Unitarian Universalists to explore their racial identities and to better work for racial justice in our community and world. Now, these learning pods engage in study, group reflection, and work with larger groups over a period of weeks that constitute a semester of the program. The initial semester focuses on our work within, and then later semesters advance to racial justice work among ourselves and in beloved community and in the larger world. Now, this program has been utilized by nearly 200 UU congregations, and it's considered as being at the forefront of racial justice transformation in our congregations. There is a $250 cost for participation, but our board has also made some partial and full scholarships available for those who want to commit to this deep soul work. Now, I'll be sending an email out to the congregation with more information on how to sign up. Registration happens through this month, and the program officially begins next month. I hope that you'll join us in this important and timely work in this month of Black history and the Lunar New Year. Let's make 2021 a year of deep learning, transformation, caring, and justice. May it be so. Amen. And blessed be.
We will now take the offering. We are a community that works for more than ourselves. Today we pledge 50% of our offering to the people concerned, which empowers the most vulnerable among us to rebuild their lives. The people concerned was formed in 2016 in a merger of OPCC and the LAMP community, otherwise known as Ocean Park Community Center. Informed by more than 57 years of work in the community, the people concerned is a leading provider of and advocate for evidence-based solutions to the multifaceted challenges inherent in homelessness, and domestic violence in Los Angeles County. With compassion and profound respect for those served, they provide a fully integrated system of care, including outreach, interim housing, mental and medical health care, substance abuse services, domestic violence services, life skills and wellness programs, and permanent supportive housing, tailored to the unique needs of homeless individuals, survivors of domestic violence, challenged youth, and others who have nowhere else to turn. Half of our offering today will go to the people concerned, so please give generously. We also encourage you to give to the UUSM General Fund for our church. We are not worshiping in our building, nor can any of the rooms on our campus be used for rental to the many groups that have met there for many years. So if you are able, and we know some of you are not, please give generously. Thank you for your generous support. There are 3 ways to give: over text, through our website, or by mailing a check. Using your smartphone, text 844-982-0209 with the donation amount and the code for where the funds will be posted. A brief registration form will be sent to you if this is your first time giving in this manner, but it is very simple each time afterwards. For example, to make a generous congregation contribution to be shared with the people concerned, use code GCC or use the QR code that you see on your screen. On our website, you can make one-time donations or set up recurring payments for your pledge or for another purpose. Your giving makes a big difference. Thank you.
好像妈妈望着我，笑颜弯弯。月亮转呀，月亮转，在这中年的生命，飘进了我的梦乡。悄悄带走无忧言，不知不觉靠近了青春啊！月亮船呀，月亮船，载着一个小小心愿，停泊在这边。月亮船呀，月亮船，载着一个小小心愿，停泊在心间。The sun that shines across the sea, the wind that whispers in the tree, the lark that carols in the sky, the fleecy clouds a-sailing by. Oh, I'm as rich can be, for all these things belong to me. The raindrops which refresh the earth, the springtime mantle of rebirth, the summer days when all things grow, the autumn mist and winter snow. Oh, I'm as rich can be, for all these things belong to me. The task well done, the fun of play, the wise who guide me on my way, the balm of sleep when each day ends, the joy of family and friends. Oh, I'm as rich can be, for all these things belong to me.
Our benediction this morning is adapted from the words of Saint Teresa of Avila. May there be peace within. May you trust that you are exactly where you are meant to be. May you not forget the infinite possibilities that are born of faith. May you use those gifts that you have received and pass on the love that has been given to you. May you be content knowing that you are a child of life itself. Let this presence settle into your bones and allow your soul the freedom to sing, dance, praise, and love. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.